We cover the latest topics and trends making waves across the sport and chat with our industry's most prominent leaders, so your golf business stays one step ahead. Welcome to Golf Business Live, powered by Club Caddy. Here's Ngcoa CEO Jay Caron, and owner of Augusta Ranch Golf Club and secretary of the PGA of America, Don Ray.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the December 2021 episode of Golf Business Live, powered by our friends at Club Caddy, who I just saw this week in Michigan. The last episode of yet another crazy year for our industry. I'm Jay Caron, Chief Executive Officer of the National Golf Course Owners Association, and with me, the ham to my egg, Don Ray, owner of Augusta Ranch Golf Club in Mesa, Arizona, and Secretary of the PGA of America. Today, we will have on the show in a little while the four officers of the Ngcoa Board of Directors to chat about the organization and maybe some industry issues. The first time we've ever done this. You know, the officers and the board have kind of always been really kind of, quiet and not really on center stage for the organization except for at our annual meeting. So we're very excited to have our officers with us in a little bit. Donnie boy, how are things in Mesa? Talk to me.
We're moving and shaking. I mean, the Canadians are coming down, and we're just trying to catch a breath. I've been traveling a lot, so thanks to the staff at Augusta Ranch. You can see my title. I'm thanking Flagstaff Ranch today just because I'm up north and I had no place that had good Wi-Fi for our podcast, so I was scrambling, and Mason and Mark set me up today at Flagstaff Ranch. So I'm very happy that they did that because I was in a bad spot. You have no idea where I was at about 30 minutes ago. I was panicking, Jay. I was panicking. But you know what it is at Augusta Ranch right now? Are we gonna can I get into this right now about
talk to me. What's happening? Yeah, I mean, what's happening on the ground, baby?
The old is new again is what I'm finding. And you know what's funny? We have all these new golfers, and they were used to kind of COVID times, and they were getting their own cart, right? And we battled through that. But now, there's a lot of threesomes hanging out there, and we're counting on the front nine and the back nine at Augusta Ranch every day how many threesomes are actually out there. Because at some point, you use revenue management to charge more, no doubt about it. But if you're going out with three people instead of four, that empty seat is more impactful probably than anything else that you're doing. Right. So what I found is, one, our starters have gotten a little bit lazy, right? They're understanding because they're COVID sensitive that people just want to play as a threesome. But we have to start moving in singles and twosomes and doing some more shuffling, just like a hostess at a restaurant, to make sure that everybody, is enjoying the golf course. Because you throw out two foursomes and then a twosome and then a foursome, that twosome's just miserable because of pace of play. And on top of that, I don't think any of these new golfers, Jay, and even some of our golf professionals, because they're new to the business in a sense, these 20 to 30-year-olds, waitless. The wait list is back, Jay. I think that golf courses need to start implementing wait lists, because I know a lot of golf courses got away from that. But I know what we're trying to do is educate players and staff members at Augusta Ranch about filling threesomes, but starting wait lists so that we can do that, because that's where we see a kind of a hole in the boat. Revenue management, great, but threesomes instead of foursomes, that hurts.
Talk to me a little bit about the wait list from a practical standpoint. When I was a kid playing public golf in the Atlanta, Georgia area, the wait list for me was, I remember Mystery Valley Golf Course. They had this metal tube, and you basically wrote your name on the golf ball and you put it at the top, and you dropped it at the top of the tube, and then you didn't get to play until your ball made it to the bottom. And that was kind of their wait list. But what does it mean to have a wait list today? If I'm making a reservation online, let's say, to come play Augusta Ranch, and there's nothing between 9 a.m. and 12:30 at all, but that's when I want to play. I'm going to come, or how do I literally get on a wait list? What does that mean to be on a wait list?
Well, that's the problem with technology, right? I mean, because a foursome is booked, and if you go on my website, you might say, well, Don's full until 3, but somebody gets sick or somebody can't make it, and all of a sudden I've got this single that's empty. So we've got to just tell people, and it's so funny you mentioned that ball thing, because I was actually going on Amazon, checking those out, because I go, let's throw back to what a wait list used to be, and go, what's that? Put your name on the ball and drop it in there. And as soon as we got an empty spot, you're coming in there. And I might discount that. but I'd rather discount it to fill it than to not have it at all. So technology can't help me with time, with audibles in a sense, right? I've got a threesome instead of a foursome. I got to grab somebody off the range. So I have to educate these new players. Hey, come on out. We're going to fit you in. We'll figure it out. There's a threesome making the turn. Boom. We'll get you on the back nine. We'll work you in when you come to the front nine. We got to go old school, Jay. We got to go back to old school for this.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah, I'm going to want to talk to the other owners about this, because we talked when we had the group of the owner-to-owner celebrities from our podcast on last month or the month before. We talked about just the changing conversations and policies because of high demand market that we're in. And it's just what's happening there. And I'm going to want to talk more with our owners a little bit later about that. But retraining your staff that maybe they've been around for a while, but maybe don't remember or were never around during high demand times. And so they were, I guess, gotten used to saying certain things to their customers. Now they're going to have to say different things. And not only play the, with hospitality, how do you deliver bad news, or how do you tell someone, hey, we want you playing with them when maybe the customer doesn't want that, right? That's a tricky balance.
Well, isn't it weird? Like some restaurants you go into, right? And they have a foursome table, but they put two twosomes next to it. And it's kind of weird. You're like, well, they're a little too close to me. And obviously COVID, it's a concern, right? So it is weird. I just think that, isn't it amazing that all the things I've been preaching for the last 6 months is walk the range, build relationship, old school, get to squeezes, get to wait lists, old school. Technology has solved a lot of things, but relationships and wait lists, it can't solve that. So we got to do that ourselves.
I have been talking to some folks about the idea of a wait list, a technology, a virtual wait list. If like, oh man, I really want to play between 9 and 12 on Friday, which is, let's say, 6 days from now. Let me get on a wait list. So if something does open on the tee sheet 2 days from now, like someone cancels their foursome, that's a different thing when you get a hole the day of and you got to be ready, that audible. But if it's 4 days in advance and something opens up there, that you're on a wait list for that tee time, and then maybe you've given your credit card already and it just automatically books you because you're still on the wait list. That I don't even know if that exists right now.
I don't know, but at the end of the day, I want them there. I mean, think about what we used to make on waitlist people. They're out there. Should I hit a bucket? Oh yeah, definitely hit a bucket, Max. I don't want to get you on. And then you get them on in 10 minutes and half the bucket stays on the range and you're scooping those up so you can sell them again. And they're buying drinks, they're buying beers, they're buying hot dogs. I'm telling you, I'm going back. I might buy that. I'm going to buy that little ball thing, Jay. I'm going to put it on my first tee.
Hey, 40 years later, I still remember that thing. Okay, so the audience, I forgot, we have an audience. If you have any comments or questions, whether you're on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube right now watching live, be sure to post a comment. If it's a respectful, good comment, we'll do our best to get it. If it's a smart question, we'll try to get to it. But enjoy the chit chat in this channels if you're logged in. I just got back literally 2 hours ago, just landed from the Michigan Golf Course Association's annual meeting, our affiliate out there. And I love going out there. Great group of people. They had an event just outside Detroit. High energy. It was great to see a room full of people, in this industry. So kudos to that group. But I got to tell you a funny story. Last night they had their awards banquet, and it was wonderful. And they run a 50-50 raffle at the banquet. There must have been 200 people in the room, I guess, and selling tickets to this raffle. And I'm sitting at the table with Renee Fluker. Renee is the founder of the Midnight Golf program out there.
She's awesome.
Oh yeah, she and three of her fellow folks that help her with the event were at my table. So it was just the five of us. And it is a trailblazing program that has been working at the kind of the intersection of golf and diversity for 20 years. And they've put over 3,000 kids through their program, which is all about, learning the game of golf and life skills through golf, but with college bound, kinds of programs and bus tours of colleges that they take these kids on. And it's amazing program. They get 800 applicants a year and they take 250 a year. Wonderful. We were having the best time at dinner, and we're laughing about the 50-50 raffle because we're like, oh, 50-50 raffle. If you win, there's pressure to give back your 50% to the charity and all. It's like, oh, okay, all right, let's do it. And I bought, $20 worth of tickets, but I told the team at the table, I was like, look, I win things. I win raffles. I've won 2 cars in my life. I tend to be that guy that wins the raffle. And I said, I'm going to win tonight. And they're all laughing, what have you. And so it gets to after all the awards again, it's at the end of the night, it's like 9:30, and they do that 50-50 raffle. And the winner's share was going to be about $1,200. So I was like,
Wow.
oh, it's not bad. All right. And they pull the number, and who wins the damn thing but me?
No,
I
no
win.
way.
I win it. And I give my winnings to the Midnight Golf Program because they had just won the Award of Merit from the Michigan organization that night. And it was Giving Tuesday, which they had a donor who was matching all donations yesterday. So they made $2,400 on that evening. But boy, did everybody go crazy at that table when I won. They could not believe it. And I was claiming I was going to win this thing. Anyway, that was a lot of fun.
Golf is the engine of good, Jay. Golf is the engine of good.
Absolutely, man. I believe that wholeheartedly. You know, speaking of trailblazers, we lost a legend this week in Lee Elder, 87 years old, and I got to meet him in 2019 at the Bob Jones award dinner at the U.S. Open that the USGA was putting on. And you know, what a wonderful piece today in Golf Business Weekly, written by our new writer Michael Williams. I encourage everyone to read it about Lee Elder. So make sure you read it. Wonderful story. Did you ever get to meet? Do you ever get to meet him?
I'll tell you what, Jay. One of the best things that's happened to me as secretary so far is when I first got elected, Kendall Murphy and Kenny Sims called me up and said, Don, Lee's going to be one of the honorary starters at Augusta National. Is there any way we can get some of our Black PGA members there? And that started the process of Seth talking to Fred and making it happen. And so that we had those Black PGA golf professionals there to see him there. And I got to be there. The next day we went, or later that afternoon, we went to the Patch. He gave a short speech. The mayor was there of Augusta. And so I did get to shake his hand and spend some time with him. And yeah, it's just, he's charismatic, you know, and when you're around him, you just wanted to listen. And he was really good in his speech, and it was a very powerful 2 days to see all that. And yeah, I mean, it's amazing the things that golf can. I would never think that I'd be part of that, but I have a plaque on a picture on my wall of all of us, the leadership of the PGA, all the Black PGA members, and Lee Elder, right there in Magnolia Lane in front of the Augusta National Clubhouse. And nice. I cherish that. And that's the power of golf, and that's the power of Lee. He always kept fighting for what was right. And now he's got scholarships in his names, and he's got a boatload of golf professionals out there who love it because of what he did.
Mm. Yeah. Rest in peace, good. Mr. Elder. Rest in peace for sure.
Dr. Elder, right? Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I want to change course here and talk a little bit before we bring our guests on in a minute about something I've noticed that you've been putting on LinkedIn, and it's been part of conversations more and more and more these days. And it's this whole thing about work-life balance. You know, I mean, I think we've been talking about it in the professional world probably for 25 years, you know, that to be sustainable and to be a good employer is to try to, provide a work-life balance and so forth. But in the golf industry, I've heard, Cathy Harbin's coming on soon. I've heard her say at a meeting, that a lot of golf professionals and others have kind of worn on their sleeve like a badge how hard and how long, the hours are, and like, oh man, I'm pulling, 7 days a week this season, and the tournaments on the weekends and so forth. Oh, me too. And I work 85 hours, like you're kind of bragging a little bit about how long, but it's then you're kind of a martyr to the business, and those days seem to be gone. And, so tell me about why this is on your mind right now. Maybe as secretary of the PGA in particular, but as an owner operator as well. Why is it on your mind right now particularly?
Well, I see it personally. I see it at everybody at Augusta Ranch, and just traveling around as secretary, going to all these meetings and talking to members. I see it. And so now, I think all of these stories, and I stole that from Cathy too, as this badge of honor of, I work open to close 7 days a week. Well, finally people started listening, and now they don't want our job. Right. And so if we're going to be models, and we're going to be exemplary as a PGA golf professional, as a golf course owner, even, right? LPGA professional, we need to model what a good family life looks like, what a good work life. And I just see it, Jay. There's retention is concerning to me as PGA members, because a lot of them are so beat up right now. You don't know you're burned out until you're burned out. I saw it happen in club sports with Katie. Kids don't know they're burned out in sports until they're burned out, and then they don't want to play softball anymore. That can happen in golf as a head golf professional, maybe even as a golf course owner who's just beating themselves up working 7 days a week trying to count the beans in the backyard. So I think that this is a big concern, and I think we do have to start figuring this out. And I think that the days, I can tell you right now, you ask a PGA golf professional, maybe in their 20s, how many hours do you think is expected of you now that you're on salary? they're not saying 50 to 55. They're saying 40 to 45. My mind says that a salary employee works 50 hours a week minimum. Their mind is, hey, you just made me salary because you like me. So that is, we're not talking at the same terms right now. So that's part of the issue we've got to address. But yeah, we've got to figure this out. And I think that's your organization, the Ngcoa, obviously, and working with the manager. I mean, really, I think the Ngcoa is very instrumental in this because of who sits on your board, which we're about to meet, and they sit on some large management company boards. You're the employers of the industry. How can we all work together so we can make sure this job is actually attractive again?
Yeah,
because it is. Golf is the engine of good. We raise more money for charity than all these sports combined, but now we worked them into the ground, and now they don't want this job anymore, and it just makes me sad, to be quite honest with you, because I know how much of a difference we make.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting. That's one of those progressive versus traditional conversations, because and we'll talk. I can't wait to talk about that a little bit with the group of owners here in a second, because we had a very rich conversation about it at the Michigan meeting just yesterday, and I'll share kind of what I facilitated that discussion on this very topic, and I want to maybe bring some of that forward. But a couple housekeeping things before we bring our guests on. Number one is just to let folks know we had a superb event a couple of weeks ago at what we call our Ngcoa event, multi-course owners and resort operators in Monterey. It was our first in-person event for our members that we've had since I think January 2020. So nearly 2 years, and what a great event. And we dove into some meaty topics such as labor, supply chain, government overreach in the industry that's happening. I mean, we talked about this bill in California that is authorizing municipalities to turn their golf courses into low-income housing, not only authorizing them, incentivizing them as well, and just the ramifications of that. So very, very interesting meeting that we had with the nation's largest golf course operators. Great event. So thanks to all the members and sponsors that were there. Golf Business Conference is around the corner, less than 2 months away. We can't wait to see everyone in Orlando, January 24th through the 26th. Taylor, there we go. There's the golfbusinessconference.com. It's live now from a registration standpoint. We're gonna have a pre-conference golf outing at Reunion, or you can choose a branding workshop. So your choice, work or play that first day. We're going to kick off the conference with Brandel Chambly and Augie Pisa, one of the most progressive architects out there in the world right now, talking about innovative practices, things going on in our industry. We're going to have great content and crowdsourcing sessions in the middle, just on all kinds of issues on golf operations. And we're going to close the event with a special luncheon featuring Annika Sorenstam as our Award of Merit winner. So, on that Wednesday of the PGA show. So come down to the Golf Business Conference and the PGA show at the end of January. We can't wait to see all of our members. It's been a long time, and these events are just so critical to our health and success as the organization and our members in their operations. So we can't wait to be back with the PGA of America and the PGA show in a couple of months. It's going to be great, and you're going to be there, right, Don?
Oh, absolutely. And I got to do a shout out. Listen, the education that's offered by the Ngcoa is awesome. I mean, if you're an owner of a golf course, you have to get your PGA professional, because if they're going down to the merchandise show, this is exactly why these two shows being married work so effectively. You should be bringing your golf professionals with you, making them attend your education at the Ngcoa conference, as well as the PGA conference. I learned so much hanging with golf course owners. That's how I became one. And so we have to, all the owners, anybody who's a member of the Ngcoa, even if you're not, you should be. But this education that you get at the Ngcoa conference is awesome. It's different than what the PGA offers, and it's complementary at the same time. So sign up. This is a powerful time. And the magic happens in between the sessions. It happens during the cocktail hours and the networking sections. I'm telling you, you got to do it. This week should be the most full week, whether you're a PGA member, LPGA, or golf course owner. It checks every box now.
It is the week of the year. So can't wait to see everybody. Okay, let's bring on to the show the four horsemen of the apocalypse. I mean, the four officers of the Ngcoa board. I better be careful. They signed my paycheck. Hello, everybody. How are you?
We're doing good. Hello.
Let me introduce everybody here. We've got Steve. Raise your hand Steve Graybill, Fox Chase in Stevens, Pennsylvania. He's our board president. We have Tom Brooks at Carson Valley, who's our vice president. Cathy Harbin at Pine Ridge in Paris, Texas, is our secretary, and Cathy Aznavorian with Fox Hills Golf and Banquet Center in Plymouth, Michigan, our board treasurer. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Good to be
And
here.
you know what? Congrats to Steve on a phenomenal 2 years as our board president. He just presided over his final full board meeting a couple weeks ago, soon handing the gavel over to Tom Brooks. We should have arranged a virtual gavel passing in this StreamYard. Somehow that would have been pretty cool. Good job, Steve. And a very interesting, what is the Chinese proverb, may you live in interesting times. Well, you've had an interesting 2 years as president of this organization. So talk to me about how you're feeling about handing the gavel over to Tom and your tenure as president.
Well, thank you, Jay, and hello, everybody. I feel wonderful for being responsible for the biggest golf boom in golf in the last many years. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Now, I mean, in all seriousness, it was so funny when Don, you might have even been there when I first came in. I think Bill Stein said, "Now don't screw this up," right? And
I think the language was more colorful than that, Steve.
Yeah, he did, but we can't say that here. But and 2 months later, COVID hit. So it's, look, we've all had to deal with it. We've all been in the middle of it. We've all made the best of it that we could. So it's been interesting, and I've been thankful and blessed to have been part of the organization, not just for the last 2 years, but for many, many years. And it's like Don said. Power is the power of golf has just been a wonderful thing, and I've met so many great people through it, and I've met all of you, so it's been great.
Awesome.
So Tom, the gavel has unofficially been passed through the air. There it goes. Catch it, and we're good.
How you feeling, Tom? Is it heavy? Is it really heavy? Talk to me.
It's an impending good thing, I think. Steve's done an amazing job. I mean, talk about
Uh-oh, the audio's bad. Taylor, can you hear that? Uh-oh, Tom, your audio, maybe you can get closer to your computer. I don't know. The audio is kind of...
So, no, I think, it's been great. Steve's had to work in challenging times and decisions on the fly and, put in the midnight hours to, come up with the decisions at the right time. And Steve was the man of the hour. He did the job, and, it's been great. But additionally, Jay and the staff at NGCOA have been amazing. You guys have been on track and ready to go. So I'm looking forward to all that support. You guys are the on the ground, make it really happen. So I'm looking forward to it. And of course we have Cathy and Cathy Aznavorian. Always got us squared away. And here comes Cathy Harbin, and she's not new to this industry.
No, we've got a great bench strength here of leadership of the organization. So I'm really excited about the next few years. And don't worry, Tom, we'll get you trained properly on what it means to be president of the organization. I do the training. I was kidding.
No. Don will have a chat.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it. So let's have a little chat about the NGCOA a little bit. And I'm going to look to Cathy Aznavorian a little bit on some of this, because you've been a member of the organization longer than anybody on this call here, maybe since the 1970s or 80s, I think.
80s, yeah, for
in
sure.
the 80s, yeah, and
even before NGCOA was NGCOA.
Yeah,
I attended 1982, I think, was my first time, and so we've been very consistent in our membership. But I mean, the changes that I've seen are just incredible. The ups and downs in the industry. Back in the 80s and 90s, golf was booming. There was very high demand and very short supply. And then, of course, when the late 90s came, or the 90s came, the plethora of golf courses just expanded like crazy. And then the supply was too high and the demand became too low. So we've seen a total revolution. And then, of course, the 2000s brought us two major changes. We had 9/11, which curtailed business in general, and then we got hit with the recession in 2008-9. So we've just seen a lot happen, and now here we are in 2021, and we've seen a wonderful resurgence in golf. It's been wonderful. I mean, I'm sorry to say that COVID has maybe challenged us in that way to recognize how important it is for outdoor sports to exist. but it's certainly, to our golf course, it certainly brought a lot of young people. It's just wonderful to see people in their 30s, a more diverse group than we've ever seen before, men, women, people of all, colors. And it's just been wonderful to see the changes that I've seen in my lifetime.
You saw NGCOA as an organization in the 1980s, let alone all the industry changes you're talking about. But the industry has changed from an ownership and management perspective over the years. What has that meant for NGCOA over time? How has the organization changed, from when you first joined?
I think one thing I would have to say that stayed very consistent over the years, and that has been great education. I think one of the reasons we came every year was the friends we made with other golf course owners, that we could pick up the phone and call them and feel comfortable if we had a problem. But the consistent education, I think, has been a mainstay of the association. So despite, the growth of course, in the beginning, there weren't very many. We were just a small group of people, but the group really grew to like each other. And that's, I think, what made the camaraderie. That's why people wanted to come. You wanted to see, what was Billy doing, and what was Susie doing, and what was that course in Pennsylvania doing, or, the course in Minnesota. So they became our friends. And I know many people traveled to see people during the winters, and they became close personal friends as well as golf course friends. And that certainly has made for, a rich association over the years.
And I would say that that's probably still the nucleus of who we are, that those kinds of connections. Like Cathy, Harbin, you've been in upper management at, a resort. You've been at a multi-course owner with, 200 properties. Now you own your own golf course outside of Dallas. You've been at this, you've been an LPGA, PGA member for a long time, and you've been an NGCOA for a while. And so, what has changed about ownership and management? What are some of the broad changes you've seen over this, period?
Well, the evolution of multi-course owners, and even those multi-course owners that have 10 golf courses, not the big ones that have 100 plus, or some of those, but the ones that are just people like the 5 owners and operators on this call that have decided that they want to take their knowledge to just a more grand scale, but not too grand. That's probably been the biggest thing I've seen, is that the number of those multi-course owners that have like 10 golf courses, 8 golf courses, 12 golf courses, and the impact they're making. Because you really see when people start to put, I've got a lot of sayings, you guys have heard a lot of them, but one of them is good training plus good systems equals flawless execution. So when you take these systems and you put them into these golf courses that were maybe a little bit unsophisticated in some ways, and you put good systems in and you do some good training, you really are creating great experiences for golfers. And that's really what, in the end, that's what we all want is for the golf course, the golfers, when they come to the golf course, that they have this phenomenal experience so that they want to come back, they fall in love with the game. And, golf is the engine of good, right?
Yeah. And at the board level, we have about another 12 board members who aren't on this call. We've got the range of everybody. We have, the small operators, and we've got the largest multi-course owners, and in medium size, and everything in between. So we've got great perspective around the table when we're tackling issues together, which is very gratifying to watch when we're batting around some of these strategic issues in our industry, to see all the different perspectives. But it's true that I think the home of the organization is with the smaller operator, because I think if we're taking care of the smaller operator, then we're kind of taking care of everybody in many ways. If that's the heart of it is. Yes. One thing I've noticed, and I've been in and out of the industry for almost 25 years, is not a lot of new people coming in to own golf courses. Just not, it's just whether the existing ownership, like you're saying, Cathy, is growing, gobbling up some courses here and there. A lot of owners have been doing that for 20, 30, 40 years. And so I think about education, and I'll direct this question to Tom. So, I would say probably 30 years ago, it was probably very important for NGCOA to produce education, the basics. Here's how you run a golf course. Here's the basics of F&B, the basics of marketing. We used to have a marketing handbook, right? And, these manuals that we would put out, some on the basics, because there's so many people were coming into the industry during the 90s as well. People building golf courses. So we were catering to the needs of people who had never done this before. And now we have so many people that have been doing this for a long time. I look at our education, I wonder, should we focus more on the basics or the fresh stuff? What's happening now that the veteran owner needs to know about, right? Because it's hard to do both with the limited resources we have. So do you think NGCOA should err more on the basics and just keep putting that out there for people to remind people what we should be doing, or err on the side of kind of the latest and greatest of what's happening in the golf operations? Because they're not always the same.
Jay, I like your comment there that, even the diversity of owners we have, the small 9-holers all the way through the Ngcoas, that's all good information, and all those people meeting together. So do you do this or that? That's kind of a tyranny of or. Sometimes we have to do and. We have to do both. We joined the NGCOA, went to our first conference in Palm Springs, so I think was 2000. And the value for us was the people we got to talk to. We got to talk to a couple of the bigger operators, and you got a different perspective. You talk to the smaller guys. You talk to people who were just starting in business, people who'd been at it. And you always walked away with like, I need to think about that differently. I need to try this. This is what's important. So I think in doing the course of things that NGCOA does, the advocacy, the education, we really cover a broad range, because look at golf course owners. They have to do so many things. We have to be good at finances, customer service, agronomy, food and beverage. Those are just the major ones. There's lots of subcategories as well. So it's like, and I think the value for NGCOA and what NGCOA does and has been done so well is because all those topics are covered, people get what they need out of it. So I think I don't think it's or, I think it's and.
Yeah. Darn it, you just doubled our to-do list. We got to do both. Okay, all right.
Well, but in fairness, the organization, as Cathy Aznavorian said, has grown and gotten better and better. And we are, I think we have hit critical. And do great things in the industry. And, Don's saying, we've got to get together. Look at all the owners, LPGA, PGA. Like bringing all that together is great. And I look forward to seeing a lot of PGA people in the sessions and talking with them. I know I can learn something from them. And, as Don does all the time, we can give them a different perspective, because it is a little different from the owner's perspective. When you're the one signing the checks and deciding what bills get paid, including whether you get a paycheck this week, it's a different story.
I do like that there's a fair share of humility in our industry, because humility drives people to share with each other, and what did you learn, or what did you face this year, these kinds of things. And so that opens people's minds, and they're willing to share with each other. Steve, I want to ask you a question. You just recently attended, you and Tom actually both did, as well as Cathy Harbin, are the Diversity and Inclusion Summit that we put on for kind of the leadership of the golf industry. Why do you think, as president of the organization, why do you think it's important for NGCOA to kind of grow our role in this industry with in particular, the topic of diversity and inclusion? Why is it important for us to do so?
Well, we started the conversation, we meaning the conference, and for us to have started the conversation along with everybody there was so much. Listen, I went to first listen and to second learn about the concerns and needs out there, because, I said to numerous people prior to going to the conference, I said, I'm not exposed to it in my area. I'm just not. Like maybe some of the other areas and courses. And so it was really enlightening for me to go. And so for us to start the conversation and have so many people together was just great to hear the needs. You hear of all these sub organizations, let alone all the USGA and the PGA and everybody that was there. But I remember sitting at the table and talking to some of these smaller sub organizations. They're getting the people together and letting them learn the game and have the game introduced to them and helping these inner city areas or these marginalized communities to get these kids in a safe environment. But then after that, what do they do? So they're looking for an outlet. They were there asking us for an outlet. So we need to be able to connect the two groups of, we've got the kids together now. We've taught them the game. We've introduced it to them. And now we need to carry them along, and they can't do the next step. So I think it's going to be important for us as an organization to pair up the need after they've taken the child to a certain point and got them educated, for the NGCA to stop in and try to bring those two groups together to be a vehicle where they can take those kids and help them maybe through the education portion, and ultimately to get them a job in the golf business. So I heard that loud and clear from some of the smaller organizations. So I think it's going to be part of our responsibility to help inform where we can all the organizations, but to also help these smaller organizations in carrying these kids along. Not physically doing it, but giving them resources to get people hooked up.
Oh, good comment. Cathy, Harbin, you were there as well, and with Cathy Aznavorian here, you've seen that, like the NGCOA board, we've had a diversity in gender for many, many, many years, where other golf organizations have struggled with that. We've just had so many women as owners of golf courses involved in NGCOA over the years. And but what can we do from a diversity standpoint on golf course ownership? I think there are like less than 10 African Americans that single-handedly own and operate golf courses in America. 10, and I don't know how many women, but there are a good bit of women, whether solely or with their spouses, that are active in the operations, which is a wonderful thing. So what do you think we can do as an organization like this, to encourage more diversity in the ownership, if not just the ownership, but at least the top management of golf courses in America?
Well, the $100,000 question, right? Because it's a goal for all of us is to get as many people of a diverse background into leadership roles in golf, and certainly in ownership, and starts with modeling it. So the more that we have females, we have African Americans in these roles, and we promote it, and we make it. We draw this awareness to it. The more people start to see themselves in that role, and they can see the pathway to that. But I think the things that the NGCA is doing right now with so you want to buy a golf course, and giving you the resources to show you that it's not quite as difficult as you think. It sounds scary, and you'd have to have a little risk taker in your blood to want to go down that road. But there's a lot of people that fall into that category, and if we can, it's just like the game of golf. If we can show them that their intimidation and fear that doesn't necessarily play out to reality of bad things happening, and show them that there is a clear pathway to coming into ownership, and that we have this great organization that has your back, kind of. It's like you're not out there by yourself. You're not this, and that's one of the greatest thing. When people ask me why do I want to be a member of the NGCOA, I say I've got a ton of members that have my back. There's not one member of the National Golf Course Owners Association wants me to fail. Everyone wants me to be successful, and so everyone's a phone call away. If I could call anybody on this platform today, or any other owner, and say I'm really struggling with something, and no one's like, good luck, Cathy. Everyone's like, how can I help? How can I help you? I want to help you. And that's big for someone that's getting ready to take a big risk and move forward in that arena.
Yeah. And I know at the PGA of America, Don, that there's great work going on to increase diversity in the ranks of the PGA, and what a fertile ground to recruit people to one day own golf courses. Right. And so I think if we're working hand in hand on all these issues together, then, the chances of this increased diversity just improve over time.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm excited about the PGA and the NGCOA having that same show in Orlando, because I still think we could do more with that, right? Is to bring some people into, hey, if you're interested in it, come out and see it. If I don't meet Del Ratcliffe, if I don't meet Rot Lucas, if I don't meet Bill Stein, if I don't meet everybody on this call, there's no way I ever think that I could own a golf course. My mom worked at Wendy's. My dad was a dealer in Vegas. I didn't think it was even possible. Certainly didn't understand golf course leases. but yet there was no class for me to take, but it was just talking to people. And I think that's what it takes for the diversity side of this too, is Renee Powell will tell you all about golf course ownership. So we've got to bring some people to her, put her up on stage. I mean, she does such a good job by herself. But if we can have these little groups I'm really excited about where this merchandise show is going to go as we kind of really bring the two groups together. Because if you can see it, you can be it, right? We talk about that all the time. But once they say, wow, there is an African-American male or woman or Asian male or Latinx, whatever it might be, owns a golf course, you kind of want to talk, you gravitate to them. It's just the way it's going to be. So we just got to get more of them in the room. And it's intentional. We just have to be intentional about it because it's not going to happen organically. That's what you guys did great on your board. When I got on the NGCOA board, and I was like, well, how do you guys pick the board? Because there was no election, right? It was kind of like the board decided who was going to be on the board, which could be dangerous in some organizations, but not for the NGCOA, because you guys were very strategic on who you were going to get, type of course, type of person. And all of a sudden you had this very diverse thought making and thought process going on, which I thought was very powerful.
Then how did you get on the board?
Yeah. Hey, you needed a dumb guy, I guess. And Dylan wasn't on there. So, what are you going to do? But no, it's, and I think it's just being more intentional. That's why I love, I'm excited. Nothing against you, Tom, but Cathy and I will both be presidents of these organizations at the same time, along with Marva Bernard, president of the LPGA. If we can't get our boards all united, moving in the same direction, making this game, so diverse so that it looks like America, we have failed, Cathy. And
I know. I'm in. I'm totally in.
Make it happen.
No, good stuff. Thanks for the chat about NGCOA. I want to close out the last few minutes that we have, 5-10 minutes on. I want the group's feedback on a couple of things that Don and I were talking about. Right. So we're now, because we got great owners here. We've been doing this for a long time, successful owners. So I don't want the wisdom to escape the show here. So let's talk about the high demand market that we're in. And I'll start with Cathy Aznavorian on this one. You run a 27-hole facility, lots of banquets, lots of outings and so forth. We're in a high demand market, and I've seen a lot of conversations change with owners, among owners, about what they should do differently now that, we have high demand for the tee sheet. What are you seeing as an operation that runs a lot of events? Are you having to say, gosh, maybe we shouldn't take all the events that we used to take because they're not as good business for us? Or what's the opportunity cost of taking some of these, events or whatever it might be? What are you seeing at your facility that's changed in this high demand market?
Yeah, so just one comment. It's actually 63 holes. So what that gives us is an opportunity to have very large events. We oftentimes have events going on all 63 holes at one time. Oh my God. One of them is just a par 3, but that actually works out great because there's sometimes those events have people that don't golf that well and they're a little intimidated by a full length golf course. So the par 3 really works out well. But, I think what we've seen over the years, as we've talked about different things that have happened when golf demand was low, is that many golf courses, we got an outing. These are 80 people and we're going to take these 80 people no matter how little they pay us because it's 80 people and they're guaranteed. And now we're looking at the tee sheet and realizing what a cost that is to the golf course, because when you only have 80 people, that means you're closing off your golf course to accommodate these 80 people for a shotgun start. And, I think Don was alluding to, wanting to fill that tee sheet up with not accepting 3, only accepting 4. And now I'm looking at the fact that we've got all these tee times that we've just basically closed down because we're taking this outing. And especially if it's only 80 people and not a full 144 people. So I think we've been rethinking things. It's not that we don't want events. We love events and we love to put these events on. But it's also realizing that we can't do them for these low prices that we've been charging and that we have to price ourselves appropriately for that. So, and also I think really the labor shortages that we've witnessed this last year, I think that was been one of the big problems that most golf courses have seen. So when you have outings, they take a lot more people because you're servicing people in a whole different way. So you definitely want to have you want to service them well, but without the help, it makes it even more difficult.
Interesting. Steve, you run a facility that does a lot of events as well. You've got some interesting food and beverage facilities there. Are you seeing the same thing? And are you having to have conversations with your staff who may have been with you through a long period of lower demand? Are you having to train them and talk to them about how to rewire how they approach the market, or how the market approaches, your golf course?
Yeah, Jay, one of the best things we did 10 years ago is we charge one fee for events. You can bring one player or 144. It doesn't matter to us. And so it's really, really taken the pressure off us in booking a golf course for 100 players and they show up with 80. So the price is the same. It doesn't really matter as long as you don't bring more than 144 golfers. So it has been a game changer. So with the prices of golf going up, you're going to have to adjust that number. It includes golf range and carts and $1,000 in pro shop credit. And so we get the dollars coming in from the event, and we'll just continue to keep moving that number up a little bit. We've got a weekday price and a weekend price. And the only thing we're not doing anymore is not having any weekend shotgun starts.
Gotcha. Interesting. Yeah. So let me also touch on. Does anybody else have any comment on the high demand changes that they're seeing and they're having to implement some challenges with retraining staff, or maybe dealing with unhappy customers because they don't like the new prices, or so you're having very different conversations with your customers than you might have 2 years ago. Any other comments before I kind of go to the last subject? Okay. Well, the last one I want to touch on that Don and I talked about was kind of this work-life balance question. And we had a really interesting dialogue at the Michigan organization meeting yesterday about labor, the labor shortage, labor retention, these issues. And I posed the question to this audience of dozens and dozens of golf course owners and operators. I said, in this day and age, when so many employers outside of our industry offer amazing amounts of flexibility, everything from where you can work, you can almost work anywhere you want to in America for so many kinds of jobs now, because it's at home or whatever, and telecommute and using these online tools to patch into your employer, even highly flexible hours as well. They're not having to, it's not sun up to sundown, and the benefits are really good, and very creative benefits from these the corporate world and so forth, trying to get their fair share of the talent. Why should some 22-year-old kid who may or may not have a degree, why should they work for you at the golf course when all this world is out there? Tell me. I'm telling you, Cathy, I wish you were there at that meeting yesterday. I said, no, really, tell me. The room was silent for like 45 seconds. And I was so afraid they couldn't even come up with one reason why someone should come work for them. And I said, if you guys can't sell why people should come work at golf, we are doomed, because you're the employers, right? And then finally, so it just took a brave soul to say, to chime in and say, because it's fun. We have a lot of fun at the course. Okay, great, fun. And we ended up coming up and snowballing with a great, great list of ideas, which I'm going to turn over to the folks that do Make Golf Your Thing, because we're soon going to see Make Golf Your Career and other kinds of marketing efforts to get people to work in golf. It was a focus group. It was so good. And it was just wonderful to see. Like, for example, I think it was Gilda, who's president of the organization. She said, where else can you work and learn so many disciplines under one roof at a small business, right? And Tom, you talked about that, like, agronomy, entertainment, restaurant business, finance, customer service, the sports business, all of these things, hey, if you really want to get an education and maybe cross-pollinate your career here, we can, hop around. A golf course is where you can do it. Like, oh, wow, yeah, you're only going to get one kind of education that maybe at a restaurant. It's food and beverage business. You're going to learn this much. At a golf course, you'll learn this much. Ah, very good. Someone else said, at a golf course, is there anywhere else you're going to meet the most interesting people, the most successful people, all the people that orbit around golf, that want to be part of golf, that play at your golf course? Just where else are you going to meet so many interesting people in a job? Like, oh, wow, really good, really good. And someone was talking earlier also, Don, about what we were saying, the goodness of golf. It was like, golf does so many good things. Don't you want to be part of that, right? And so I thought, oh, man, these are really good things. Now, awesome stuff. but how do we address the work-life balance? Because, these are great things, but if I got to work 80 hours a week, forget it, And there was a gentleman there. His name is, I think, Dr. Terry Rogers. He's been a professor for over 30 years at Michigan State University Turf Program. And he said in the last couple of years, he would have a superintendent, an active superintendent, come and speak to his kids about what it's like to be a superintendent. And that superintendent comes in and says, "Oh yeah, if you want to be superintendent, you're going to have to work 80 hours a week." And you can just, sun up to sundown, this whole thing. And you can see, he's Dr. Rogers, and you can see the students just kind of going like this in their seats, and it's like, and the lights going off for him, like, holy cow, we've got a problem here. And so you guys are operators with staff. Are you seeing, what are you doing maybe to try to accommodate this work-life balance awareness that the recognition that people aren't willing to sacrifice what they used to sacrifice for work? Cathy, Harbin, I'll start with you because I know you've been thinking about this.
Well, yes, and you guys quoted a couple of my lines earlier, and I really think it starts with giving yourself permission to stop doing it. First, starting with yourself, and then starting with your staff. For me, my golf professionals, they do not work both weekend days, Saturday or Sunday, but they don't work Saturday and Sunday. I try to make sure they take one weekend a month off, and we have shifts. No matter what. You're a golf pro, you're teaching, you are working a shift. It's all on a count. It's all on our schedule. And you start at this time and you go home at this time. And if it's not really done like that, people don't know. It's like they think they're supposed to just keep working, but if it says you go home at 3:00 or you're off at 3:00, then you don't feel guilty walking out the door at 3:00. You were given permission to leave at 3:00 today. Instead of just going, just work until you think you're, kind of caught up. Well, that never happens. So don't say that because you'll be there all day. So giving them this very defined start and stop, finish time, and giving them permission to go home and be with their family, and giving them one of the 2 days on the weekend off has been really valuable. And frankly, I've had to talk some of the board members off the ledge of the golf course that I manage. And they're like, I don't know any golf pro that, doesn't work on Sunday. I'm like, well, would you rather he took Saturday off? Because he's going to get one of the 2 days off. You pick, because, and it's just that, but it's that old mindset of, that just we're so entrenched to thinking that our golf pros are supposed to be there, or our operators, our manager are supposed to be there, all the time. And so we have to give that permission out, and we have to set up a structure that gives them permission to leave without guilt.
Yeah. Excellent. And Cathy Aznavorian, you've got, a large operation with lots of staff running events and so forth. Are you feeling that same pressure and seeing the same kinds of maybe friction between employer and employee on how to balance this? And what are you guys doing?
It's a very difficult thing because, the business model, you just can't keep adding employees, right? Because those employees cost you money. So when you have shifts, then means you have to have somebody to cover the next shift. And with a lot of events that we have with our food and beverage staff, it's been particularly challenging because you're right. I mean, the young people today, they don't want to work 80 hours. They don't want to work 60 hours. They will. And when we have very, heavy duty events, they will. But then if they can look forward to certain times of the year where they're not working that hard and they're not being required to come in at all, say in January or February, there's just weeks on end that they're not required to come in. I think it helps balance it out a little bit. But what we try to do is do exactly what Cathy was saying. We establish shifts so that they do have a break, and unfortunately sometimes the shift has to be longer on certain days, kind of like nursing, that a lot of them go 12-hour shifts, but it's only 3 days a week. It's kind of like sometimes you have to establish your shifts to make it work for you, so they could be longer shifts but then fewer in the week. But you're right, it's a huge challenge. It's a challenge in the golf with the golf staff. It's a challenge with food and beverage staff, and even a greater challenge with kitchen staff, because if there is a labor shortage, the kitchen staff is where it's felt the most, at least in our area. It's so hard to find good kitchen staff.
Yeah, to try to advance these progressive practices that Cathy, Harbin, you're talking about at a time when we're having a labor shortage. That's such a hard time to do this, right? But, and looking down the road, and I'll kind of close on this, and we're seeing the spread of golf entertainment, right? The top tracer range facilities on the range, golf simulator businesses, really building out these awesome revenue models for golf courses. And that's going to mean that the golf course doesn't shut down when the sun goes down anymore, right? And the cash register can still ring till 10, 11 o'clock at night if you want to. If you can build a business around it, it's going to take labor to make that happen. And hey kids, all you kids out there in America, if you want a challenging job, come work at a golf course. Boy, it's going to be satisfying, but it's one hell of a challenge. And you know what? What makes you a better professional than getting through a challenge? So come on, work in the golf industry because it's great. But it's awesome. It's a great industry, and I appreciate all of you because I know you guys are progressive operators and you're volunteers, leaders of this organization. I thank you for what you do for NGCOA, and congrats to Steve on a great 2 years. And Tom, we look forward to working with you for the next 2 years and making this organization even better. And I tell you what, Don, maybe we should have the officers on, twice a year, kind of a check-in. How's it going? 6 months into the tenure, what's happening at NGCOA? A little, get the officers out there in front of the organization. I think it's a good thing. So everybody, we're out of time. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. And everybody at home, have a wonderful holiday season. And we'll see you in the new year. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Good day.
Everyone.
Thanks.